Chapter 7, The Academy. Chapter 7. Ding dong ding dong. The academy bell rang, signaling the start of class. Everyone got in their seats respectfully and awaited for their instructor Iruka-sensei to start class. As per usual, Sakura and Ino were staring infatuated at the cold and indifferent-looking Sasuke while Naruto gave him a look of annoyance. It was at this moment that Iruka opened and walked in through the door. Just as Iruka stepped into the classroom entrance, a bucket fell from the top of the doorway. Naruto silently snickered, except what he expected to happen ended up not happening. The bucket that was supposed to fall on top of Iruka's head was instead caught by me. Iruka put on a bewildered expression and then stared at Naruto and sighed. Naruto, was it you who put the bucket on top of the doorway? Man, it didn't work. Naruto remarked, completely ignoring Iruka's question. Iruka simply faced palm before revelation hit him. The bucket didn't fall on top of his head. He turned his head to see that the bucket was being held in my hands. When did he? How did he? Iruka silently questioned in his head. Ahem. He coughed. Thank you for catching that bucket. Iruka nodded to me. I simply nodded back and then placed the bucket down in the corner of the front room. Soon after, Iruka walked to the front of the class followed by Kimimaro, Haku, and myself. Everyone else in the class silently whispered amongst themselves at this new development. Sasuke temporarily opened his eyes and stared with the slightest bit of curiosity at us before turning away with indifference per usual. All right class, quiet down. I have an announcement to make. Iruka said. I know class already started a few months ago, but we have 3 new transfer students. He turned to us and asked us to introduce ourselves, so I stepped up first. Hello, my name is Karasuma Izaya. You can call me Izaya. I'm 7 years old this year and I'll be in your care. 7 years old? Just like most of us. He looks pretty handsome, right? Wait, is he blind? The whispers continued in class as Kimimaro and Haku both introduced themselves as well. My name is Kimimaro. You can call me Kimimaro. I am also 7 years old. My name is Haku, and you can also just call me Haku. I hope we get along. He smiled. He's too pretty to be a guy, right? Naruto questioned. Okay, quiet down everyone. They will be attending the academy with all of you till graduation, so be nice. Izaya-kun, Kimimaro-kun, Haku-kun, the 3 of you can pick anywhere with open seats available. Iruka said. The 3 of us nodded and chose a spot near the back by the windowsill. Class is most likely going to be pretty boring since it'll only be the basics like learning how to form hand signs and learning what elemental nature affinities are. I silently mused. Like Sasuke, I stared out the window for most of the class. Naturally they were talking about how to determine elemental affinities and what their properties were, so I let the lecture go through one ear and out the other. After class was over, some of our classmates came to converse with us. Among them were faces I recognized such as Koji, Shikamaru, Kiba, Shino, Hinata, and Naruto. Hey, how did you catch the bucket earlier? Can you even see with that blindfold on? Naruto asked. Oi, is that something polite to ask? Shikamaru lightly scolded. What? It was a serious question. Naruto replied. I simply turned to face them, but before I could reply Haku spoke up. Something like that isn't enough to stop my big brother. Even though he's blind, he can see just as well as any of us, maybe even better since he's a sensory type ninja. Oh, so what does that mean? Naruto remarked. Shikamaru and the rest simply let out a loud sigh whilst Hinata blushed and was the only one who seriously gave an explanation to Naruto. Wow, so you can do stuff like see chakra without looking and you can sense things in your surroundings. That's pretty cool. Hey, did you guys get all that stuff Iruka-sensei was saying earlier? It was kinda confusing, you know. If you'd like, I can help you. Hinata whispered softly to herself, but of course no one ended up hearing her as Koji cut in. So, have you guys been to Yakiniku-Q yet? They serve the best barbecue meat. Do you ever want to talk about anything other than eating? Koji, Kiba remarked. Our friendly banter continued on for a bit longer before Kimimaro, Haku, and I excused ourselves. Since we became official students of the academy, we were granted access to the lowest level tier of techniques available to us. The tiers went from D, C, B, and A, with A being the highest rank of techniques. S rank, forbidden, and secret techniques were all kept strictly sealed away in the Hokage's residence. Fortunately and surprisingly, we were also granted access to the C rank techniques. This was probably due to Lord Third pulling some strings, since most kids at our academy don't have access to these techniques until after they graduate. If kids at the academy reach the level where they can utilize C-rank techniques, then they would learn them from either their clans, parents, tutors, or buy them from special shops. Seeing as how the three of us have no background here, Lord Third probably did this as a favor to us in order to help us grow. The three of us looked around at the available D-rank jutsus before walking down towards the floor below where the C-rank jutsus were kept. The more powerful or complicated the technique was, the further down we had to walk. Which made sense. After all, if there was an attack and the buildings got crushed in the process, it'd be safer to have the scrolls that recorded techniques and information below ground. And I'm willing to bet that all the techniques located here are all copies. The originals are probably stored safely away at some concealed bunker. The three of us took a look at some C-rank jutsus that looked promising and stayed there for a few hours to memorize its contents. As I finished reading and memorizing the information on some scrolls, I prepared to leave. Haku, Kimimaro, I'm done looking around. If you guys have more things you want to learn here, then take your time. I'll probably go out and do some training before heading back home. Haku nodded. Okay, big brother. I'll stick around for a little while longer. There are some interesting water techniques that I want to memorize. Me too. Since my elemental affinity is with earth, there are some earth-style jutsu I wish to learn. Kimimaro added. I nodded and then walked back up the stairs and out of the academy. Looks like it's getting pretty close to evening already, I mentally noted and looked up at the sky. I took a quick glance around me, but no student in sight. I guess Shikamaru and the rest of the gang went to eat some barbecued meat after class. Not sure what they're up to now though. I've got a few hours of daylight still, so that should be good enough to try out some new stuff. Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Not a second later, I reappeared near a paper tag stuck on a tree that was marked with my own unique Flying Thunder God sealing formula. This was a secluded area in the forest surrounding Konoha that I discovered during the week before Kimimaro, Haku, and I started attending classes. It was nice and quiet here, where I didn't have to worry about random prying eyes. As long as no one intentionally tracked me down here, I wouldn't be discovered. Alright, I pretty much have a general understanding of using the Flying Thunder God technique. I'm only missing my own unique kunaus. I've placed papers with my unique sealing formula in multiple places so I could instantly teleport to them in case of emergencies. According to Iruka-sensei, one of the requirements to graduate is the ability to use the cloning jutsu. For me that's really simple, but it isn't that great of help in actual combat. Even though I still have to work on stage 2 of my Raiznon training, I'll focus the rest of my time today perfecting the Shadow Clone Jutsu first, and if I succeed in that, then I could potentially double my training speed. Thud. Dust slowly rose in the air and heavy panting sounds were heard. Huff. 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 Hey-ah! I let out a deep and relaxed breath as I lay motionless on the ground. Sweat dripped from my face and body. Well, I call that a success, I smiled. I looked up and gazed at the starry night sky. The moon lit up the forest, giving off a scene of beauty and tranquility. A small, soft, and gentle breeze caressed the trees, the flowers, and the surface of the river. I slowly closed my eyes through my blindfold and relaxed my body and mind as I steadied my breathing and felt the comfort of the wind brush my face and my hair. I could sense myself getting stronger with every day, but I knew it still wasn't enough yet. As I lay there in the comfort of the silent forest, I contemplated about what was to come. In the future, Naruto will steal one of the forbidden scrolls known as the Scroll of Seals in the Hokage's residence in order to learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu. The shinobi called Mizuki will then attempt to steal it and Iruka will intervene. In the end, Mizuki fails. I don't think I need to intervene for something like that. This way it'll help Naruto grow as an individual and he'll realize Iruka is more important to him than he realizes. The problem is Orochimaru. I know he will instigate an attack on Konoha, but now I'm not too sure how that will play out. Originally he had the help of Kimimaro in dealing with the 4th Kazekage and his entourage, but Kimimaro is on my side now, so I'm not too keen if things will play out the same. It's possible that Orochimaru will still succeed and instigate an attack during the Chunin exams. He'd probably just have to put in a little more effort. If that does happen, how should I respond? Do I tell Lord Third? That'll draw suspicion towards me though if I know about the attack with no evidence. Do I let Lord Third die so Naruto and Jiraiya can bring Tsunade back as the 5th? I need her skills in order to heal Kimimaro. Will she even come back if Lord Third doesn't die, or will she only return after Lord Third is dead and is convinced by Naruto and Jiraiya? Ugh, the problem with knowing the future is that I can step in and intervene at big moments like these, but then it would alter the future I do know of, and from that point knowing the future won't be as large of an advantage to me anymore. I don't even know if I'll have the sufficient strength yet to even change the outcome if and when Orochimaru attacks the Leaf Village. In fact, what if Orochimaru recognizes me as one of his experimental subjects? He originally wanted Sasuke's body, but if he realizes that I survived, what if he wants my body? Maybe he won't recognize me since it'll be quite a few years later, but still, the possibility remains. Oh, I know, I'm an idiot. I practice the Flying Thunder God technique. All I need to do is somehow give Lord Third an object that has my Flying Thunder God mark on it sometime before the Chunin exam begins. Then, no matter how dire the situation gets, I just need to reserve enough chakra to ensure that I can utilize the Flying Thunder God jutsu to save Lord Third in case the situation turns very bad. I'll have to time it well and make sure that Lord Third doesn't activate the Reaper Death Seal technique. Since Jiraiya will also be in the village at that time, then we don't have to worry about having someone capable of defeating Orochimaru. Ugh, but then he won't have his arms crippled and jutsu taken away. That leaves for an uncertain future again. Then there's Sasuke and his whole Avengers Heart ordeal, and he'll most likely defect to Orochimaru to gain more power. Or do I intervene for that too? Wow, I'm back to square one. Contemplating about what I know of the future, and trying to control it so it's different but not different isn't going to work. No matter what, I either intervene and possibly change the shape of the future, or I just let the future play out as I know it and I care only for myself. Sigh, screw it. This is my life now and this is the world I'm living in. Lord Third is a good person and took Haku, Kimimaro, and myself in. If I have the chance to save him, then I will. I'll worry about everything else as it comes. No use thinking about them now since everything might be different by then. The most important thing is getting stronger, that way no matter what changes happen, I'll have the strength to take them head on. I opened my eyes and started my quiet and silent trek back to my cozy apartment. Chapter 8, Brothers Foreverin. Hey everyone, uploading Chapter 8 today. Just want to let you all know that I'm not sure how often I'll be updating in the future. Hopefully sooner than later. I'm working on Chapter 9 right now and probably won't upload a new chapter until I've written at least a few more chapters ahead. In other words, it might be a week before the next upload or just a few days. It all depends on my writing speed. Anyway, just wanted you all to be aware. Now on with the story. Chapter 8. Time skip 4 years. Beep, 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 beep. Click. My hand lightly smacked the alarm clock by my nightstand, shutting off the noise as I turned to look at the time. My eyes still groggy, but thanks to the Sharingan I clearly saw the time, which read 5 a.m. The slowly creeping light of daybreak attempted to penetrate my curtains, signaling that it was still dark out but getting lighter by the minute. As I lay on my stomach, one arm sprawled outwards toward my alarm clock and another arm underneath my pillow, I gave a slight moan from the soreness of my body and being woken up at this hour. I had trained until my body and mind were completely exhausted and only stopped when 3 a.m. rolled around the corner. A poor choice on my part. Even with my body's amazing regenerative abilities due to having a large portion of Hashirama's cells in me, 2 hours of rest was most definitely not enough to restore myself to peak state. I usually wake up at this time to do some morning exercises and meditation, but it looks like I'll have to skip out on the exercise portion today. I unceremoniously kicked off my bed sheets and rolled out of bed. I gave my body a good stretch and a soft yawn before heading into the shower and completing my daily care necessities. After I got dressed in my attire, I noted the time on the clock to be 6 a.m. I had 2 hours before class started. I made my bed quickly and sat down on top in the lotus position, beginning my morning meditation. It's been 4 years since Kimimaro, Haku, and I have arrived and become official citizens of the Leaf Village. A lot has happened in these past 4 years. For one, Kimimaro, Haku, Naruto, Sasuke, myself and many others are 11 years old of age now. Our graduation exam will be later today, which will consist of a written and practical portion. One of the basic requirements to graduate is to successfully perform the clone jutsu. This will be a cinch. It also means that Naruto will fail and he will steal the scroll of sealing tonight from the Hokage's residence. During these past 4 years, I was finally able to obtain a few sets of the special kunai I wanted to use for my Flying Thunder God technique. I even took up an apprenticeship in blacksmithing and weapon forging, all for the sake of making my own weapons. This not only helped me make some money, but also allowed me to save money by making my own instead of buying them. Naturally, I also ended up making more senbon needles for Haku, and Kimimaro is a living weapon, so there was no need for him to carry any. I started getting a handle on the Reincarnated, but it's not perfect yet. For now it takes me too long to build up the chakra, contain it, and spin it violently. By the time I finish all the steps, my opponent would have slit my throat, and I doubt my enemies would wait for me to complete my jutsu. If I try to build up my Reincarnated too fast, then I lose out on the power, and at most it'll act like a super strong punch with some extra force behind it, but it won't bring out the desired effect. My best bet is to try the shadow clone tactic that Naruto used if I really need to use this technique. One other struggle I'm having is with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. I've pretty much mastered the technique to teleport myself. The problem is that teleporting other objects or people is truly complicated. Having to connect my chakra with theirs or connecting them to my teleportation sealing network is difficult to master. It currently takes up too much chakra to transport other objects and people, since I don't have a good grasp on this yet. I let out a deep sigh. I can only continue working at it. On the plus side, I've increased the total amount of chakra my body can contain. Now I won't be so helpless when I meet dangerous opponents. I'm confident in taking on any Chunin level expert and even ordinary Jonin level opponents. I'm not sure what my chances would be though. If I had to face someone like Kakashi right now, though I'm confident I can escape with my life. Which brings me to wonder who my Jonin instructor will be after graduation. I slowly opened my eyes as I felt the warmth of the sunlight aglow my back. I turned to look at the clock, which noted the time as 7:59 a.m. Class began in the next minute. However, I didn't panic. I got off my bed and made sure I wasn't missing anything before activating the Flying Thunder God technique. I instantly arrived inside the treetop of a large bushy tree by the academy entrance. Then with the body flicker jutsu I arrived in my classroom seat with a puff of smoke just as the bell rang, signaling the beginning of class. Haku turned to look at me and said, "Big brother, you're still using that trick to get to class. Exactly when the bell rings. Even on the last day of class. No one other than you and me knows that Izaya can use that jutsu," Kimimaro said to Haku. I simply gave them a smile. By now everyone in class was used to my antics of using the body flicker technique to rush into class. What they didn't know was that I used the Flying Thunder God technique first to get all the way near the academy entrance first. Sasuke stared at our corner for a bit before turning back to what he was doing. And that was absolutely nothing. He sat there with his elbows propped up on the table and chin resting on his hands. During these 4 years Sasuke had been more conscious of Kimimaro, Haku, and myself since we showed a similar talent to his own. I believe he acknowledged us as worthy rivals these past 4 years, and while he still keeps a bit of his indifferent attitude, he isn't all that cold towards us. He at least answers back with sentences when we talk. For the 4 of us in this class, shuriken and kunai throwing was too easy. The same went for the fundamentals of chakra control and the other topics the academy taught. The truth is that if Kimimaro, Haku, and I wanted to, we could have graduated from the academy earlier, but we refrained from doing so. The reason being? It was because I wanted Kimimaro and Haku to have a bit of a more normal childhood in this life than the harsh life they had in the anime and manga I read in my previous one. Their talent and potential still remained the same, only they went about a different way to acquire their skills this time. Using my knowledge of the anime and manga from my previous life, I was able to help give them some pointers and guidance. By now both Kimimaro and Haku were a foe to be reckoned with. They definitely wouldn't lose out to any Chunin nor low-leveled Jonin. Since we decided to take things at a more leisurely pace, we showed off just enough skill to grant us the title of genius, but refrained from showing off too much. Iruka-sensei soon walked in and explained to us the details of the test. We all began the written examination first. The first to finish at nearly the same time was Sasuke, Haku, Kimimaro, and Iruka-sensei didn't seem too surprised at this, but he did look a bit worried for Naruto. During these past 4 years I attempted to help Naruto out, but he really didn't have much patience. While his relationship with me and the other two could be considered as entering the good friends realm. We couldn't do much for his acts of mischief. I do believe, however, that he'll do decently well on the written portion at least. With our addition to the class and becoming good friends with Naruto, he had at least picked up some academic knowledge. Once time ran out for the written portion, we began the practical portion. Some simple taijutsu movements and whatnot, and lastly the clone technique, which everyone had passed except Naruto. I watched at the side as Naruto and Iruka played out the familiar scene I recalled from my previous life. Not long after, Naruto ended up running off. Well, I won't bother with the next set of events, I silently thought to myself. Naruto will succeed in the shadow clone jutsu once he takes the scroll of sealing. Iruka might get hurt, but overall he'll be fine, and Mizuki the traitor will fail. I turned away and looked towards Haku and Kimimaro, who were conversing with the others like Kiba, Ino, Shino, Koji, etc. Concern flashed past my eye momentarily as I stared at Kimimaro. He should be feeling his health deteriorating soon, if not already. It might not be that severe right now, but it'll get worse in the next couple years. In my past life he died at age 15, but he was already bedridden before that. I looked down at my hand, which held a leaf shinobi headband. I tied it to my left thigh and walked over to the group for a chat. Unsurprisingly, we decided to all go celebrate with some barbecue meat at Yakiniku-Q. We all sat around a large group table, chatting amiably amongst ourselves. Seriously though, do you really think Naruto isn't going to graduate? Koji asked as he picked up a piece of meat to eat. Sigh. It can't be helped, those are the requirements for graduating. Shikamaru replied while grilling some more meat. We continued our idle chatter and small-scale celebration for an hour and a half before we disbanded. It was already 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The list of the three-man squad and their Jonin instructor was going to be released tomorrow early the next morning, and so there wasn't much for anyone to do except wait. Haku, Kimimaro, and I walked around town a bit before I paused. Kimimaro, tell me honestly, how do you feel? I asked with a solemn expression. Both Kimimaro and Haku were startled by the question. What do you mean, big brother? Is something wrong with Maro? Haku asked anxiously. Kimimaro remained silent for a moment before letting out a sigh and speaking. I knew I couldn't fool you for long, Izaya. I've sensed the changes in my body recently. As you know, the body of the Kagaya clan are slightly different than those of others. I feel my body slowly weakening over time. Currently it's not that bad. I essentially don't feel any different than I normally do. I can utilize my jutsu and Kekkei Genkai without any serious problems for now. What? Brother Maro? Let me help you. I've learned some medical ninjutsu during these past 4 years. No, we should go to the hospital and let them take a look at you. They should be able to treat you. Haku exclaimed worriedly. I let out a deep breath before speaking. Amen. I'm glad you answered me honestly, Kimimaro. I've sensed the slight changes in your body and can see your chakra flow is slightly deviated. Only slightly. This may become more pronounced later on if you overexert yourself. From the looks of things, so long as you don't push yourself too hard, you'll be fine for another 3, maybe 4 years. After that I can't be so sure. I'm not sure. Konoha's hospital can cure you, but if worst comes to worst, they should be able to help prolong your life. The only one who can truly help you is one of the legendary Sunin named Tsunade. She's supposed to be the greatest medical ninja in the world, so if anyone can figure it out, it'd be her. For now, let's not worry too much about your condition as long as you promise Haku and I something. Kimimaro stared me in the eyes before giving in. All right, what do I have to promise? I nodded my head, acknowledging his wise decision. No matter what, you are not allowed to push yourself too hard until we are able to meet Tsunade and have her diagnose you. Not even if our Haku and my own life are in danger. Buledin Deshdot. Kimimaro wanted to protest, however Haku didn't let him. No buts, brother Maro. Big brother and I know that you are strong, but don't you agree that big brother and I are also strong? In fact, big brother might be the strongest out of the 3 of yous. What we want more than anything is you to be alive and well, not for you to put yourself in harm's way for us. Big brother and I are capable of protecting ourselves, and if we really need to, big brother and I have multiple strategies to allow for our escape and survival. So right now, until you are cured, you have to put your own health and safety above ours, okay? Haku lectured. I placed a reassuring arm on Kimimiro's shoulder. Haku is right, Kimimaro. Remember, we live together and protect each other. As sworn brothers. That means you have to trust us on this. I promise, we won't think any less of you. Once you get cured you can become your stubborn self again, okay? I gave him a confident smile. Haku then placed his hand in between all of us. I placed my hand on top of his, which prompted Kimimaro to place his hands atop of mine. Brothers forever. Haku said. I nodded and repeated, brothers forever. Kimimaro looked where our hands intersected and had a warm feeling of belonging inside of him. Amen. He. Not. Chapter 7, The Academy. Chapter 7. Ding dong ding dong. The academy bell rang, signaling the start of class. Everyone got in their seats respectfully and awaited for their instructor Iruka-sensei to start class. As per usual, Sakura and Ino were staring infatuated at the cold and indifferent-looking Sasuke while Naruto gave him a look of annoyance. It was at this moment that Iruka opened and walked in through the door. Just as Iruka stepped into the classroom entrance, a bucket fell from the top of the doorway. Naruto silently snickered, except what he expected to happen ended up not happening. The bucket that was supposed to fall on top of Iruka's head was instead caught by me. Iruka put on a bewildered expression and then stared at Naruto and sighed. Naruto, was it you who put the